Well, hello, this is Jeff Gaudiosi, and you're on misplaceddraws.com, where music comes to life. And sometimes hard work and talent do pay off. Phil X has spent over 30 years as one of music's top session guitarists, as well as touring as a sideman with some of the biggest names in the business. In 2011, he began filling in on some dates with Bon Jovi, and that led to him becoming an official member of the band. He still continues to work with his own band, Phil X and the Drills, and they just put out a great new track called Right on the Money. Please welcome Phil X. Welcome,
That's,
Phil.
that's quite the introduction. Thank you so much.
Got to get it all in on one paragraph. Yeah.
I know, right? I think you did a good job. You have a good editor.
Thank you. Well, so let's start with the Drills and the new music. First of all, who's in the band with you this time around?
This lineup is the Canadian lineup. It's Brent Fitz. He plays with Slash.
He's an amazing player too.
Brent,
I've seen him live a lot of times.
Oh, we've known each other for 25 years, but we didn't play together until a couple of years ago in Germany. I took the Drills to Germany, and I took Brent. And Dan and I have been the core of the Drills for a really long time. So I looked at Dan after playing one time with Brent, and I thought, I feel like I've been playing with this guy for 25 years. And he goes, I thought it was just me. So he really filled the drum stool really well. Like maybe because we grew up on the same stuff, or we love the same stuff. But when we rock out together, it just comes together. And he's such a great guy. It's a pleasure to have him around. He's the guy that the whole Right on the Money track came together with Chris Lord Alge calling me, asking to take the Drills into Capitol Records studio in Hollywood to tape his master class on cutting a band live off the floor.
Oh my God, that's a great opportunity.
Well, he mixed Stupid Good Lookings Volume 1. Mm-hmm. We started hanging out. Like, we met many times because he had mixed a lot of records that I played on, like Daughtry and Kelly Clarkson. Mm-hmm. And when we finally met, he was like, "Man, I love mixing your guitars." And I'm like, "Well, that's from one of the best in the world, so thanks."
Yeah, that's for sure.
But when we started hanging out, because we were both in Rio. He was in Rio mixing, broadcast mixing Aerosmith on their night at Rock in Rio, 2017, and then Bon Jovi played the next night. So he was there, and we were hanging out, and he's like, "Hey man, I hear you got a side band. I'd love to check it out." And I sent him tracks, and he totally freaked out. And he's like, "I need to mix this, and you need me to mix this." And I thought that's the coolest thing I ever heard.
If you insist.
Yeah. So he mixed Volume 1, and he's going to be mixing Volume 2. It's just we have to get our schedules together. But in the middle of all that madness, he took the Drills into the studio to record us recording live off the floor, and one of the songs that I had just written was Right on the Money. But his involvement, it crept into producer land, because he'd come in and go, "Hey, you know what? Instead of just going into that heavy, slow time thing into another chorus or a solo, why don't we have a little drum break? So Brent, try something on this take." And that's the take that you're hearing.
Wow.
Yeah, like we were
that's cool.
All kind of eyeballing each other. Brent calls it heads up hockey, being a true Canadian. We're all making eye contact on the floor, wondering when the hell this thing's going to end. And I just screamed. The scream that you hear on the record is the scream that is like, "Hey, I'm going to solo now," scream. So I went into the solo, and that ended up being the arrangement. We didn't edit anything.
Wow, that's amazing.
Well, I love the urgency of...
and it comes across. I mean, you hear it in the song.
Yeah. Man, yeah, thank you. I'm glad you noticed. I'm glad that a lot of people have been wow, that sounds really exciting. Like you guys don't know what's going on. And I'm like, we did it.
And now you mentioned how you're going to work on some time to get out volume 2 of Stupid Good Lookings. Do you have any kind of time frame as to when we'll be seeing that record?
I'd like it to be before the end of the year because
Mhm.
Volume 2 came out in 2019. It'd be
Yeah.
great. I mean, Volume 1 came out in 2019. It'd be great if Volume 2 came out in 2020.
And are you still going to kind of go with the idea of a different drummer at each song, or now that you've got this down with Brent?
Everything's been recorded.
Oh, okay.
It's like I said, we're just waiting it to be mixed.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, what I wanted to do, this is going back to 2014, where I thought, we never have a drummer, because if you're a band in LA and you have a great drummer, that drummer's in 10 bands. So you're like, hey man, we're playing the Viper Room on Friday, and he's like, I can't make it, I'm playing with somebody else. And then you're like, then you go to drummer B, hey man, can you do the Viper Room Friday night? Oh man, I'm already booked. So that's why the Drills have had 100 drummers. And luckily enough, nobody's exploded like in that.
No spontaneous combustion.
Yeah, thanks for not blowing up, dudes. But so the record was going to be, and it was going to be a record and a documentary. And my idea in 2014 was to record a bunch of drummers, but it went from 10 to 12 to 14 to 16 drummers. And the problem there is that in the temperature of music today, people love content, but not too much at one time.
Right.
So that's why we split it up into volumes. So on volume 2, we have Tommy Lee, Ray Luzier from Korn, Kenny Aronoff, and some other guys.
There's a lot of them. Yeah.
Well, I feel terrible not mentioning Ryan McMillan, who Dan actually wrote a song that is going to be on volume 2, which I'm really excited about. Even when we were playing in March, we did 8 shows in the UK before we got sent home due to COVID, and we started playing Dan's song because as a preview of something that he did for volume 2. So we had Gary Novak also, and I just put out a video. Liberty DeVito is going to be on this record.
Oh wow!
Yeah, so
legendary drummer with Billy Joel. Yeah.
Well, and the Liberty story is crazy. We met while we were doing a Hang for the Hired Gun documentary at East West Studios, and we became friends. And then I said, hey, if I'm in New York, will you come and record a drill song? And he said yes. And I happened to be in New York doing 2 sold-out nights with Bon Jovi at Madison Square Garden. So I kind of call it the Madison Square Garden Liberty DeVito sandwich.
Yeah.
The bread being 2 nights at Madison Square Garden, and the morning in the middle, Friday morning, we met at the power station and recorded this track called Broken Arrow. So I love the story. I love his playing. He's a beautiful person. It just came out great.
That's awesome. And now let's go back all the way through your career a bit here. In the late 80s, you had your own bands, and then you hooked up with Aldo Nova during his Blood on the Bricks period.
Yes.
Now, John was heavily involved in that record. Was that where you first met John Bon Jovi?
It is. And but I think a lot of people ask about that, and the funny thing is, John, you got to think about how many people John meets.
Right.
Right. So having met me play in Aldo's band, John joined us on stage on 2 occasions when we were rehearsing for the tour. We learned "Blaze of Glory," knowing that John would jump on stage a couple of times. So we learned "Blaze of Glory," his single, and he co-sang "Blood on the Bricks" with Aldo because he co-produced the song and co-wrote the song.
That was a great record, by the way.
So it had that thing, It really had a charm because Aldo's a super talented guy.
Oh, definitely.
And it definitely came out. John was like, hey, the band's, Bon Jovi's on a hiatus. Will your band come to my house and record Leave On for the Elton John Bernie Taupin tribute that's coming out?
The 2 Rooms record.
Yeah, so I ended up doing that with John in his basement. So even though we played on stage together and we recorded together in his basement studio at the time, I don't think he remembered me after that. So, because I truly think that when he was calling around and asking who would be a good guy that could walk on stage and fill in for Richie, when he heard my name, he was like, that sounds familiar, but I had no idea who that is. But I had kept in touch with both Matt and Anthony, his brothers. Mm-hmm. So he probably called Anthony and said, hey, who's this Phil X guy? And you go, dude, he was in Aldo Nova, don't you remember? And then
at your house. Yeah.
When he actually called, I remember the date. It was 2014. It was April 14, 2011. And he said, hey, how do you feel about rehearsing with the band at the end of the month and being on hold for May? And then after we said, sure, let's do it, and talked about songs and a 2.5-hour set, he said, so what have you been doing the last 20 years?
Well, and that's what we're here to talk about.
Yeah.
Now, after Aldo, you joined one of my favorite bands ever, Triumph, replacing the legendary Rick Emmett. As a Canadian kid, how scary was it not only joining a legendary band, but replacing an icon like Rick?
Yeah, it was, it was really, at the time I was touring with another Canadian band called Frozen Ghost. It was Frozen Ghost that led into Aldo Nova, that led into Triumph. That was the of appearances. So I was doing a thing, me and Wolf from Frozen Ghost, we went to this Q107, which was Toronto's rock station. We went to a Q107 Christmas party. And then Mike Levine walked up to me, and I go, hey, Mike Levine. He goes, hey, man, you're Phil X. I'm like, I was shocked that he knew who I was. And then I said, so how's it going looking for a new guitar player? And he said, well, everybody that I talk to says we should get you.
Wow.
And
That's high praise.
Yeah. I got goosebumps. I was, what? So then when the Aldo Nova call came in and that started to come around, what ended up happening was that's when Gil called me and said, can you come to Metalworks, which is down the street from my mother's house. Can you come to the Metalworks so we can talk? We want to put you in Triumph, and we want to know if you're into it. And I had just committed to Aldo Nova, so that put a kibosh on that. So but when I came back from Aldo Nova, they were like, hey, what are you doing? I'm like, nothing. Well, let's go make a Triumph record. I'm like, okay, let's do it.
Wow.
I know, it's kind of exciting when you're 23 and everybody's calling you because they want what you do. It's kind of like, wow, it was kind of overwhelming at times.
I could imagine. And, after Triumph is when you really kind of found your footing as a session player. Was it a weird transition being, a band guy and on the road to becoming a session guy?
You know what? I'm going to be honest, and people can believe this or not, but if I have a guitar in my hands, I'm a happy guy. Mm-hmm. And whether I'm on stage, which stage is my favorite, but it's like being able to paint. You go into a studio and someone hands you paint and brushes and a palette, and they say, go nuts. And I get to create. I think it's like, as an artist, it's my favorite thing to do. So whether I'm playing on with Triumph, or if I get a call to go play on somebody's record, I love the challenge of having to be a chameleon, because when you're doing an Alice Cooper record, you gotta have a different kind of mentality of where the guitars are going to come from when you go play on an Aldo Levine record. So, but
you got to study it and know it. I mean, it's a lot of work.
I mentioned it earlier today. I feel like I was talking to a friend. I feel like I don't think about who the artist is. I think about making the song the best it could be. Because at the end of the day, it's about the song.
Oh, always.
Yeah. And
is there, of all the sessions you did, is there one that stands out where you say, like, yeah, I played on that? What would be your favorite session of the hundreds you've done? That's
tough. Because sometimes I forget.
I played on that?
Yeah, but I mean, I was, you're at the gym. I mean, there was a time where I was so busy I'd go to the gym and I'd hear a Gavin DeGraw track with my song on it. Well, I mean, with my guitar on it, I'm sorry. And then a Daughtry song right after with my guitar on it. And then a Kelly Clarkson song with my guitar on it. And I'm thinking, what the hell is going on? Something on here, you know?
That's awesome.
It's the radio. So that gets really exciting. I've been like, personally, I think Chris and Gavin are both incredible singers. Mm-hmm. And I'd go as far as to say I think they're kind of underrated. Chris, I think he's the real deal. When we were working on this record and I asked him to sing the chorus in my ear because it hadn't been laid into the track yet, and he sang in my ear and it sounded recorded, compressed, printed, mastered, wrapped and on the shelf, you know? So it was pretty amazing. And then Gavin is he's a melody genius, and his voice I love his voice so much. So there's been a lot of situations where I love singers, I love drummers. Mm-hmm. Working with Chris Cornell was one of the ones where
that must have been amazing.
It was amazing because I was a huge fan. He's like a vocal icon, and getting to hang with him in the studio for a few hours was just brilliant. My regret in life is not getting a photo with him. I hate being hey man, can we snap a pic before we start? I don't like being that guy. So that's the one pic I wish I had.
And, we talked about replacing, an icon like Rick Emmett, but, not only did you do that once, you did it twice with Richie. Were you kind of conscious about how fans would react to you, just being in that spot?
The funny thing is I didn't have time to fear the repercussions of walking on that stage. I had to learn a 2.5-hour show. My saving grace was a teleprompter because I had to, memorize all the guitar parts. Mm-hmm. So being able to read the lyrics as they went by and sing the choruses, that helped a lot. Mm-hmm. The one thing I felt like was the decision I made early on to be really respectful to not only the music, but be respectful to Richie and his participation in that music as a writer and recording it, and respect the fans, and just do a good job. I mean, I think that was the most important thing, and that's what I thought of. And because I walked on stage, people were like, "There's no way you weren't nervous." I was like, "Well, my first show was 50,000 people in 2011 at Jazz Fest in New Orleans, and I walked on stage and I was like, dude, you've been playing and singing your entire life. It's just Bon Jovi song,
Well, once the lights go down, it's you playing your guitar,
right? And that's the bottom line. I didn't have time to think about what I was doing. If I would have got into my head, I would have tripped myself up. So I stayed out of it.
Well, kind of like along those lines, is there, like, when you're looking at the set list, is there a particular song, that kind of gave you a little pause because, maybe even something like, Wanted Dead or Alive that's so related to Richie that it gave you a little pause playing it? Or did you, again, not even have time to think about that?
Well, this was me every night. I'd start playing the riff and I'd say to myself, don't screw up, dude. Don't screw up. Because you could be a superstar, bionic rock star all night long. Yeah. You screw that up and you suck. So I had to play mind games with myself to keep it straight.
And, considering how strong your work with the Drills is, has there ever been any talk of you kind of joining in the writing of the band going forward?
I think John likes the Drills, but I don't think he thinks the music is up the alley of Bon Jovi. And John is he drives that band.
Right.
He's the guy. And when I play with Bon Jovi, I'm in the backseat adding color. But John's delivering the story, and he's the narrative, and he's the voice of the band. So he has a specific puzzle that he's putting together when he makes a record. He has a specific story to tell, and every lyric means something to him. And that's what he's putting together. So if I come in and go, hey man, check this out. He goes, that's cool, man. You save it for the drills.
That's cute. Use it for your own.
Yeah, it's like when you're in the studio and you're just messing around with a solo. And I said, oh, dude, the engineer goes, man, that's going to be awesome on your solo record. Let's get back to the song now.
Yeah. And although you weren't one of the members inducted, you were on stage with the band playing during the Hall of Fame ceremony. I was there. It was an amazing night. But sort of as that kind of impartial observer on the stage, what was the feel like there? I mean, could you really tell what that honor meant to John and the guys?
Oh, it was the biggest honor to those guys. Oh man, John talked about it for the longest time. From the dinner for the band and family and friends the night before, to everybody that was staying at the hotel. We all got these gift bags. With that mean it had Bon Jovi watching it. I mean, he was so thrilled. And I have to say, his choice of inductee, Howard Stern, inductor, was phenomenal. I mean, his speech got cut and dissected for HBO, but was sitting there listening to deliver it. It was so awesome. Howard was like fantastic, and they back and they're friends, and I don't think he could have picked a better person to do the inducting. So, but John's feeling like we had dinner a couple of weeks before. We had dinner after the first rehearsal with Richie. There was still a lot of everybody buried the hatchet and came together as a group of friends. Hey, the gang's back together, right on. And even though it's temporary, which everybody knew, it came together really, really well. And being a guy on the sidelines, I felt like I was in a cool position to witness that. And it just, I had never met Alec before. I'd never met Rick before. So meeting those guys was really special. Because I was a fan. I bought tickets to the New Jersey tour when I was young. And, I took my girlfriend to see them in the stadium that isn't there anymore in Toronto, Canada, CNE Grandstand. So people are like, were you a fan? I'm like, I bought tickets.
Yeah, like I said, man, I also been a fan my whole life, was there that night, and you felt sitting in the crowd what you guys were feeling on stage, and it was an incredible night.
Oh, that's awesome.
And now the band was hit really hard by the pandemic. The record's been moved, the tours postponed, everything's put off. Do you have any idea what any of the timing is going to be going forward, or is it still kind of a wait and see approach?
I'm going to tell you what I tell everybody. Like, because fans, I don't know. I feel like all the diehard fans that like hang on every word and check the schedule and all that stuff. I feel like they know stuff before me. So they're like, "Hey, someone's in the record coming out." I go, "Let me know when you know." Because I feel like we don't get the email. We'll get the email about, hey, so we're finally going to do shows, and they're going to be in 4 months. And then great, because then you can start learning the new record, and then you can start getting ready for rehearsals, and you have a plan. But when I feel like the fans know stuff before we do, or before I do, anyways. But yeah, so I have no idea. I know 2021 is definitely, there won't be any shows before next year.
Right.
And I think it'll be later in the year, like either spring or fall.
Okay. Well, definitely have to look out for it. But in the meantime, Phil X and the Drills, the new song, is right on the money. It's on all the streaming services, along with the first volume of Stupid Good Lookings, which I highly recommend. So there's plenty of music out there to keep you busy while we're all waiting for new stuff.
Right
And
on.
Phil, just thank you so much. It's been a pleasure talking to you and getting to meet you. And hopefully we'll catch you on the road when all this clears up.
Yeah, definitely. Come up and say hi.
I will. Thanks a lot, Phil. We'll talk again soon.
Excellent. Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it.